Future Shola is me. That stressed, overwhelmed, procrastinating person who's going to deal with the consequences of my avoidance? That's me. More importantly, I have the power right now to make his life so much easier. So why would I do that? Welcome to the Kindness Extremist Podcast. I'm your host, Shola Richards, aka Brother Teresa. I've spoken to tens of thousands of people all over the world about the importance of kindness. And I am obsessed with how we can bring more kindness into our daily lives and restore balance to a deeply unbalanced world. Every episode, I'll give you 3 practical strategies to create a kinder world, and I'll do it in 30 minutes or less. No fluff, just valuable, actionable content that you can implement in your life immediately after listening to help you actively create a kinder world. There's no time to waste. Let's dive in. Welcome back, my friend, to episode 31 of the Kindness Extremist Podcast. I'm your host, Shola Richards, aka Brother Teresa, and I'm so glad you're here today. I actually have a confession to make. I put off recording this episode about procrastination for way too long. And yes, I know there's a joke in there somewhere. And no, the irony is not lost on me. But here's the thing. Procrastination isn't easy to talk about, or worse, it's not easy to deal with. Here's what I do know though. Procrastination isn't about laziness or poor time management. It's about something so much deeper. And understanding this truth has literally changed the course of my life. I'm so excited to dive into this particular topic because, as I'm sure you know, anyone trying to create a kinder world in these wild times knows that it's really hard work. And because it's so hard, it's so tempting to procrastinate on doing the difficult work required to make meaningful, positive change. That's why I want to dive deep into the topic of procrastination so we can better understand it and ideally beat it. And as you know on this podcast, I'm going to keep it real with you. Procrastination has kicked my butt more times than I can count. Specifically, there have been times in my life where I procrastinated on things that actually matter to me. I've delayed difficult conversations that needed to happen. I've put off projects that were important to my career. I've even avoided making doctor's appointments that I desperately did not want to make, but knew that I needed to. And here's a shocking news flash. And by shocking, I mean not shocking at all. Every single time, yes, every single time, the procrastination made everything worse. The difficult conversation became even more difficult. The project became more stressful because of the time crunch, and the doctor's appointment, well, unfortunately, it eventually got to the point where the decision ended up being made for me, if you know what I mean. Here's what I've learned after years of nerding out on this topic and working through my own procrastination struggles. The conventional wisdom about procrastination is actually pretty terrible. We've been told that procrastination is about being lazy or lacking discipline or having poor time management skills, but the research says something totally different. Procrastination is fundamentally an emotion regulation problem, not a character flaw. And this is good news because it changes everything if you get it. Today, I'm going to share 3 powerful strategies that will help you to overcome procrastination for good. We're going to explain why our brains trick us into putting things off, the practical tools that actually work to get us moving, and a mindset shift that has been an absolute game changer for me. Okay, enough delaying. The last thing I'm trying to do is procrastinate about diving into the strategies to overcome procrastination, because how weird would that be? So my friend, if you're ready to defeat procrastination so we can create a kinder world, the wait is finally over. Let's do this. All right, let's start by busting the biggest myth about procrastination. And that myth is that it's about time management. It's not. As mentioned earlier, procrastination is an emotion regulation problem. Let me say that again because it's so critical that you get this. Procrastination is an emotion regulation problem, not a time management problem. At its core, when we procrastinate, we're trying to avoid negative feelings. We're avoiding anxiety, boredom, frustration, self-doubt, or that overwhelming feeling of not knowing where to start. When a task triggers one of those uncomfortable emotions, our brain does what it does best. It seeks immediate relief by switching to something more pleasant. You know this is true. When you're scrolling through social media instead of working on that presentation, you're not actually lazy. Your brain has made a calculated decision to choose short-term self-soothing over long-term goals. It's trying to protect you from discomfort. The problem is that this protection is like having a drunk tour guide. It thinks it's helping you, but it's actually taking you further away from your goals. Here's what the research tells us. Some tasks feel aversive, meaning we want to avoid them for very specific reasons. For example, first, the task may just be ambiguous. You literally don't know where to start, and that uncertainty creates anxiety. Second, the task may be difficult. You fear failure or worry that you're not competent enough, so avoiding it protects your ego. Third, it might just be boring. There's no immediate reward or dopamine hit, so your brain says, this sucks, and it looks for something more stimulating to do instead. And fourth, the task might seem disconnected from your best interests. You don't see why it matters to you personally, so there's no emotional pull to get it done. The more aversive qualities a task has, the more likely you are to procrastinate. So think about it this way. If a task is ambiguous, difficult, boring, and feels meaningless, yeah, good luck getting yourself to start on that one without a serious strategy. And if that wasn't bad enough, sorry, it's going to get worse. There's something called present bias that makes procrastination so much harder to deal with. Your brain weighs immediate costs much more heavily than future consequences. The discomfort of starting that task feels very real right now. You can feel the anxiety in your chest, that uncertainty in your gut. But that deadline or the negative outcome that's days or maybe weeks away, whatever, that feels so abstract and so distant that it almost feels like it's happening to someone else. But it's not happening to someone else. It's actually happening to you, or more accurately, it will, and that's the problem. This is why we procrastinate even when we know we're going to regret it later. Our present self is screaming, this feels bad, I don't want to do it, while our future self is completely ignored, even though we know that future version of us is going to be stressed out, disappointed, and scrambling. And wait, there's still more. There's a particularly insidious benefit, if you want to call it that, to procrastination. If I delay and then fail, I can blame the lack of time rather than my lack of ability. In that sense, procrastination becomes a self-protective mechanism. My ego stays intact because I can say to myself, hey, I would have done better if I had more time, instead of facing the possibility that I'm not as capable as I think I am. Sure, procrastination can be self-protective, but it's also self-defeating because you know what builds actual confidence? Doing the damn thing, taking action, making progress, not avoiding it, that stuff. Finally, there's a vicious cycle of low self-efficacy. If you don't believe you can successfully complete a task, you're more likely to avoid it. And when you avoid it, you never build the confidence that comes from actually doing it. So your belief that you can't do it gets reinforced, which makes you avoid it more, which makes your confidence worse, which makes you want to procrastinate even more. See where I'm going with this? Yes, I'm going deep on this, fam, because if nothing else, I want you to stop thinking that procrastination is about being lazy or undisciplined, which ironically is a lazy and undisciplined definition of procrastination in the first place. Procrastination in its simplest form is about your brain trying to protect you from uncomfortable emotions in a way that ultimately backfires. Full stop. So now the problem's been clearly laid out, let's begin the work of ridding ourselves of this annoying problem. Here's your first kind of strategy of the episode. For the next week, I want you to practice finding the source of your procrastination. Every time you notice yourself procrastinating, for example, scrolling on social media, reorganizing the icons on your computer desktop, or suddenly deciding that right now is the perfect time to color coordinate your shirts in your closet, pause and ask yourself, what emotion am I trying to avoid right now? Be specific. Are you anxious because the task is ambiguous? Are you bored because it's tedious? Are you afraid because it's challenging and you might fail? Are you overwhelmed because you don't know where to start? Literally write it down. I'm serious. Get a notebook or use your phone and document what you find. For example, time, 3 p.m. Task, avoiding expense report. Feeling, bored and resentful because I don't see why this matters. This awareness is power. Once you name the emotion you're avoiding, you can address it directly instead of just feeling genuinely bad about yourself for procrastinating. Don't skip this step, my friend. It's a critical prerequisite before diving into the strategies that will slay the procrastination beast once and for all. And speaking of which, let's discuss those strategies next. Okay, my friend, now that we understand why we procrastinate, let's talk about what actually works to overcome it. I'm going to share 3 strategies that have been absolute game changers for me, and they're all backed by solid research. The first strategy is to break tasks into ridiculously tiny steps. I mean, ridiculously tiny, embarrassingly small. So small that you almost feel silly for not doing it. So instead of write report, your first step is open the document and write 1 sentence. That's it, 1 sentence. Instead of prepare for presentation, it's just create a new slide deck and add a title slide. Instead of exercise, it's put on workout clothes. Here's why this strategy works so well. The smaller the step, the less intimidating it feels, and you'll often find yourself continuing once you started. It's like Newton's law, right? A body in motion stays in motion. The hardest part is getting started in the first place. When I was working on my book, Civil Unity, there were days when I felt completely overwhelmed by how much I had to write. The task of finish chapter 7 felt impossible, so I just tell myself, okay, just write the opening paragraph. That's all. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, once I wrote the opening paragraph, I just kept going. The momentum carried me. But even on the days where I only wrote that one paragraph, that was still progress. And progress, no matter how small, is the antidote to procrastination. Small progress is still progress, right? The second strategy is to use the 2-minute rule. This strategy has two powerful applications, and both really work. Here's the first application. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Respond to that email, make that phone call, put that dish in the dishwasher, send that text. These small tasks pile up in our brains and create a sense of overwhelm. Getting them done immediately frees up that mental space and creates momentum. And here's the second application. For bigger tasks, commit to just 2 minutes of work. Like literally, set a timer. Tell yourself, I'm only going to work on this for 2 minutes and then I can stop. Usually, and this is where the magic happens, starting, as mentioned earlier, is the hardest part, and you'll keep going once you're in motion. But even if you don't, 2 minutes is better than 0 minutes. And tomorrow, you can do another 2 minutes. I use this strategy constantly. When I'm dreading a difficult email that I need to write, I just tell myself, just 2 minutes. Just open your email and type the greeting. And before I know it, the email's done. The third strategy is to remove friction and add it strategically. Make starting easier by preparing your environment in advance. This is where you become an architect of your own behavior. If you want to work out in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before, or better yet, sleep in them. Listen, I know it sounds weird, but I sleep in my workout clothes every night before my morning workouts. Waking up dressed to work out is one less thing that could possibly derail me from working out, especially when I'm tired early in the morning. If you need to work on a project, have your laptop ready, open to the right tab before you go to bed. When you sit down in the morning, boom, there it is, ready to go. And as a bonus, add friction to your distractions. This is kind of gangster, so hear me on this. Log out of social media after every use, so you have to consciously log back in. It's such a pain in the butt, but it's going to really change how you use social media. Also, put your phone in another room when you need to do deep work. Delete the apps that suck your time and attention. I'll give you a personal example. I used to keep my phone on my nightstand and I'd check it first thing in the morning every morning. Before I even got out of bed, I'd be scrolling through annoying emails, depressing political news and comments from social media trolls, and as you can imagine, it would completely derail my morning. So I started charging my phone in another room. So if I want to check my phone first thing in the morning, I actually have to get out of bed and walk to that room. That tiny bit of friction is usually enough for me to be like, I'll check it later. And instead, I start my day with intention. These strategies work because they acknowledge how our brains actually function. We're not trying to become superhuman. We're just making it easier to do the things that we want to do and harder to do the things that derail us. So here's your second kind of strategy of the episode. Pick one task that you've been procrastinating on, just one task. Now apply all three strategies to it this week. First, break it into tiny steps. Write out the smallest possible first action. Second, commit to 2 minutes. Set a timer and just start. And 3, remove friction. Prepare your environment tonight for tomorrow's action. For example, if you've been avoiding organizing your finances, your tiny first step might be to open your banking app and take a look at your account balance. Your 2-minute commitment is just that. Look at the balance. That's it. And to remove friction, you put your phone on your desk tonight with the banking app already open on the screen. Do this for just one task. Master this approach, then apply it to the next procrastination challenge that you face. I know this might sound ridiculously simple, but if you do it, it has the power to change your life forever. Try it and see for yourself. Hey, fellow kindness extremists, it's me, Shola. If you're picking up what I'm putting down, if you're mowing what I'm growing, if you're smelling what I'm stepping in. Okay, I'll stop. If you're enjoying what you're listening to so far, I would love it if you would take a moment to hit the subscribe button and leave a rating and a review. Those incredibly kind acts go so far in helping me to reach as many people as possible who will join the movement to actively create a kinder world. I appreciate you so much, my friend. Okay, let's get back to the episode. Now we're going to talk about what I believe is the most powerful anti-procrastination strategy of all. It's a complete mindset shift that has fundamentally changed how I approach tasks that I don't want to do. Here it is. Do things now that your future self will thank you for. Let me explain what I mean. Right now, in this moment, you have a choice. You can take action that will make life easier for the future version of yourself, or you can take the easy path now and make life harder for the future you. When you meal prep on Sunday, you're not really doing it for the present you. Present you would rather be watching Netflix. You're doing it for Tuesday night you, who's going to come home exhausted and be so grateful that there's a healthy meal ready to eat. When you make your bed in the morning, you're doing it for nighttime you, who's going to pull back those covers and feel a sense of order and peace. When you have that difficult conversation now instead of putting it off, you're doing it for next week you, who won't have to carry around the anxiety of an unresolved conflict for an entire week. When you finish that work project ahead of the deadline, you're doing it for deadline day you, who gets to feel calm and confident instead of stressed and scrambling. This mindset is powerful because it transforms the nature of the task. It's no longer about avoiding something uncomfortable in the present, but showing love and compassion to the person you're going to be in an hour, in a day, or in a week. It's an act of self-kindness. I'm going to be honest with you, and this was a total revelation for me. I used to think of my present self and my future self as separate people. And I definitely didn't give a damn about future Shola's problems because I was sure that guy could figure out a way to deal with it when the time came. But then I realized something that should have been so obvious. Future Shola is me. That stressed, overwhelmed, procrastinating person who's going to deal with the consequences of my avoidance? That's me. More importantly, I have the power right now to make his life so much easier. So why would I do that? So now when I don't want to do something, I literally ask myself, what would future Shola want me to do right now? The answer is always clear. Future Shola wants me to send that difficult email now. Future Shola wants me to wash and fold the laundry so I have clean clothes for the week. Future Shola wants me to have that hard conversation today. Future Shola wants me to do the work now so he doesn't have to panic later. And here's the beautiful thing. When you start living this way, you begin to experience the benefits immediately. Because guess what? You're always becoming your future self. The future you that you're taking care of today will be your present self tomorrow. Follow that? And when tomorrow comes and you realize that past you took care of business, that past you made your life easier, that past you showed you love through action, the gratitude will be overwhelming. I've often thought to myself, past Shola, you beautiful human being. Thank you for doing that thing I did not want to do. You're the real MVP, bruh. Is it weird that I talk to myself in the third person? Maybe, but here's what's not weird. Creating a beautiful, self-perpetuating positive cycle that could change your life forever. Okay, check this. Follow me on this. When you take care of future you becomes present you and feels grateful. And then present you is motivated to take care of the next future you. Round and round the cycle goes, and you keep getting better and better in the process. This isn't just about productivity. It's about self-love in action. This is about treating yourself with the same kindness and the same consideration you'd show to someone you deeply care about. So here's your third and final kindness strategy of the episode. Starting tomorrow morning, before you even get out of bed, I want you to ask yourself one question. What can I do today that my future self will thank me for? Then identify 3 specific actions, just 3, that fit this criteria. They don't have to be big. In fact, it's better if they're small and achievable. Maybe it's packing your lunch instead of buying it, or responding to that email that you've been avoiding, or going to bed 30 minutes earlier, or doing the dishes before you go to bed instead of leaving them for morning you to have to wash. Write these 3 things down, commit to them, and then, most importantly, actually do them. At the end of the day, take a moment to acknowledge what you did for your future self and feel that gratitude, like breathe it in. Let yourself experience the gift that you gave to you. Do this every day for a week and pay attention to how it changes your relationship with procrastination. You're not fighting against yourself anymore. You're not forcing yourself to do things through willpower and discipline. You're showing yourself love through action. And that, my friend, I will promise you, changes everything. All right, we've covered a lot of ground today. Let's recap the 3 powerful strategies for overcoming procrastination. First is understanding that it's about emotions, not laziness. Procrastination is your brain trying to avoid uncomfortable feelings. Remember to name the emotion you're avoiding so you can address it directly instead of just feeling bad about yourself. Second, use strategies that actually work. Break tasks into tiny steps. Use the 2-minute rule and remove friction from what you want to do while adding friction to your distractions. And third, make your future self love you. Do things now that your future self will thank you for. Transform procrastination from a battle into an act of self-love. So as we close, my friend, I want to reinforce something critical. You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not lacking discipline or willpower. You're a human being with a human brain that's trying to protect you from discomfort, even when that protection backfires. The answer isn't to beat yourself up or to force yourself into action through shame or self-criticism. The research is crystal clear on this. Self-compassion, not self-criticism, is what helps people to overcome procrastination. So be kind to yourself. Acknowledge when you're procrastinating without judgment. Gently redirect yourself. And remember that every step forward is worth celebrating. The task you've been avoiding, you can start it right now if you want, or in 2 minutes, or first thing tomorrow morning after you ask yourself, what can I do today that my future self will thank me for? But whenever you start, hear me when I say this. You've got this, and your future self is going to be so grateful that you started. Thank you for spending time with me today. The work we're doing here, understanding ourselves better, treating ourselves with compassion, taking action that serves our highest good, this is the deeply important work that creates a kinder world. This is your host, Shola Richards, aka Brother Teresa. You now know that kindness can't be weak because you've just experienced the strength of the Kindness Extremist podcast. Until next time, my friend, the journey to a kinder world continues. Thank you for listening to the Kindness Extremist podcast. I really hope that you enjoyed this episode. And I have one favor to ask. If you could kindly hit the subscribe button, leave a rating and a review, not only would that be incredibly kind, but by doing so, you're actively playing a role in growing this movement and ideally getting us one step closer to creating a kinder world. I hope to see you next week for another episode of the Kindness Extremist podcast. Bye for now.